Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet that you can now watch on your Nintendo Switch. How about that? I'm your host, Will, and joining me today, Brandon.
Aw, shit. Here comes Pac-Man.
Noah.
Is there like a specific app to watch it on the Switch?
Ills.
I think he was lying again. He does that.
And Saf.
There's no lies. There's a YouTube app available on the Switch that's out today.
You guys act like I still upload the fucking YouTube video.
Yeah,
There is some.
Yeah, I was about to say.
There is some. And I didn't say the most recent episodes. I said you could.
Hear this.
That might be all we're talking about. There is a YouTube app on the Switch now. Good job, everyone. We did it.
Is it out in America or only on, dumb Europe?
I know it's definitely out in the UK. It should be coming out soon. It was November 8th was when it was supposed to come out. So if it's not out, then it'll be soon. When you hear this, it should be probably. But how we doing today, boys?
Pretty good.
They're good.
Eating a cookie.
Eating a cookie. Well, good to do that. Do that into the microphone, please, as much as possible.
Wait, you
Staring
eat that
longingly at
cookie?
my apple pie.
I have very good mic control. You will not hear the cookie being eaten. I promise.
Motherfucker, you're eating that cookie for like 20 minutes. How
The
have you not
cookie.
finished it?
He's really likes
I've
the
been
cookie.
eating multiple cookies. Thank you very much.
Well, there we go.
I heard a little cookie in that one.
He failed. Just a little bit of cooking there. So, it's been a week. Just a lot's happened in the world. But you know what else has happened? Things have happened in the world of video games. No one could have gone smoother.
It's okay.
Time to get into it, though, because we didn't talk about it last week, but there's been, I think, been enough developments now that I want to talk about a little game called Diablo Eternal.
Oh, fuck.
What is up
There it
with
is.
Eternal recently? What is up with that? Doom Eternal.
Doom Eternal? I think the reception to Doom Eternal is probably better than the reception.
Isn't Diablo 3 called Diablo 3 Eternal, too?
No, it's Reaper of Souls. So last week, BlizzCon comes around, right? It's the Blizzard convention, as the name would imply. And they have all their... Blizzard has a lot of plates spinning at once right now, right? They have Hearthstone, they got WoW, they got, Overwatch. They got just a lot of stuff to keep track of. And they have a little Heroes of the Storm. They announce all these things. But before this convention comes around, they make a little post that's like, hey, good things come to those who wait. Bad things come a little bit longer. And people were like, that seems like Diablo, because like Diablo's evil, right? Like, keep it an eye out. And they said there are multiple Diablo projects in development. Don't expect to see all of them. And we said, that's interesting. So then, after an hour and a half of this conference, they come on stage and they say, one more thing. One more. We get a full, like they love to do, 3-minute CG movie quality trailer, right? Just, this whole thing. It's in Diablo universe. Boom, baby. Here we go. And at the end, Diablo Eternal. And then we look at the platform and it is only on mobile.
What the fuck? Why?
And the crowd goes, boo!
Seriously, they booed?
Of course.
They booed. Very loud.
Oh, yes.
Now, of course, this is, before we get into this, obviously, people shouldn't be, like, harassing the people at Blizzard personally. Don't do that. Bad. But
No,
people responded negatively, I think, perhaps fairly so. We'll get into it. Some more faux pas along the way before we get into what the actual game is. They did a little Q&A section after. Some person asked, is this a bad April Fool's joke, in the crowd with the microphone? That was pretty bad. And then the other one, and like this one, I feel bad for the guy because these guys are developers. They're not professional presenters. But they asked, like, so is it going to be on PC? Is it going to be on all this other stuff? And he goes, it'll be on every single mobile device possible. And the crowd goes like, boo. And he's like... He's like, don't you guys have phones? And the crowd was like, boo! They were even louder.
This was a mistake.
I love
This
this.
was a mistake,
The
right?
worst thing he could have said. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But no, you can't close out an event with a mobile game. It's man, come on, guys.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. Is like we can talk more generally about like how to open and close a conference like this. But we got some more reporting. I've had to say his name basically every week now. Jason Schreier from Kotaku said, "Hey, actually, weird thing. They definitely had a trailer that was going to announce Diablo 4, and they decided a couple weeks before to cut it."
Oh my god.
Yeah, Blizzard
Bad decision
saying,
on top of bad decision. This is like a bad decision sandwich.
yeah, and Blizzard was like, they went out and they said, no, we were never gonna show it, and Schreier was like, well, you made the video, so clearly there was a thought that you were. Like, so there's contention, but clearly Diablo 4 is happening, is in development, all that kind of stuff. It feels like they were really tone deaf on this one, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
To get into specifics of it, it's the other weird thing too about this is that like you would think this would be coming like soon with the way it was announced, right? Mobile games, you don't want to have a long like announcement to release. We don't have a year on this baby yet. It's not even 2019.
Oh dear.
It is by NetEase in collaboration with Blizzard. NetEase has worked with Blizzard on releasing games in China in the past. It's a Chinese company. They have made essentially a ton of Diablo clones in China.
Oh.
And there was a while where people thought, is this literally just a reskin of one of their games? Blizzard has come out and said it's not a reskin, it's a ground up, but it's clearly using their UI, using their base gameplay stuff. If you look at the game, it doesn't look particularly good like on your phone. It really is just top to bottom. Hard to think of a worse way to announce a game like this, you know?
This does not sound good in any possible way. Holy shit.
Nope.
Sounds very, very sloppy. And
Yeah.
I usually consider Blizzard a pretty smart company, but apparently not.
And that's part of it.
Yeah, because
Go ahead, Saf,
there
sorry.
was a point where they announced Diablo 3 for the PlayStation 4, and Diablo fans were a bit angsty over that announcement because it's like, oh, maybe they've dumbed down the game just so that it can run on consoles. Like, they are quite contentious when it comes to the type of game that they're looking for. Surely they should have realized that you don't fucking downgrade it even further to a mobile game just for these fans.
And I mean, and you know, like it's also, this is BlizzCon. This is a convention that people pay to go to, right? It's $100 a ticket roughly. You
This
know?
is definitely the wrong crowd
Oh,
to introduce this at.
These are the most hardcore Blizzard fans. usually,
Exactly.
too.
And they're super PC focused too, right? Like, like you know, like especially this crowd.
Yeah.
And so I guess I should also mention another just misstep along the way. They took down it got disliked crazy, the announcement on YouTube, right?
Right.
They took it down and then tried to re-upload it to reset the dislikes.
God.
Even worse.
As you can guess, it is not even worse than it was before. Yeah. Like, you know.
This is sad. It's funny, but this is sad.
Yeah, it's just rough because it's like if they had just, I mean, you didn't have to show off gameplay, you didn't have to show off anything, right? If you had just said also Diablo 4 is happening on stage, this would, I mean, I think this would be a completely different story, you know?
You announce this as like one of your first things, so it's not the fucking exclamation point on the whole conference,
Right.
And then you announce something better or something more important later, you know, something bigger at the end to, you know, give it the oomph that you want to give it.
Yeah.
Or just don't make a Diablo mobile game.
I mean, it's clear that they want to approach that market, and that's fine. But
Yeah, it is fine.
yeah,
Here's the thing
guess.
too: is also maybe don't tease a new Diablo game when it's just going to be a mobile game.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
you know, also not a good idea.
Yeah. Because I mean, and the thing
That's
is,
like the major thing. Like they were expecting like a big Diablo 4, like a big next PC game, and then they get the mobile version. So
and that's, I mean, like I think we saw an example earlier this year. I mean, and tons of examples of this, right? Like Bethesda at their conference at E3 this year announced a mobile Elder Scrolls game, right? They also at the end they said we're making Elder Scrolls 6. Don't worry, this isn't just the Elder Scrolls thing happening right now.
And then there was the other one. What was it? Was it Gears of War?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to get to
Like
that.
before
but
that.
That's a good example. But I was, Command and Conquer was an example of a bad time because they're like, oh, new Command and Conquer game, but here it is. It's a mobile game. But the Gears of War thing is a good example of. It's not a mobile game, right? It's a good example of if they had just shown off Gears Funko.
Yeah.
People would have been like, "That what? This is bullshit." But they okay, we're making Gears Funko in this Gears game that's like XCOM, which is super cool. But people still would have been mad. But they're like, also Gears 5.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, now people are like, maybe I'm kind of excited about the Funko game because
Another little extra because it's an extra.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, even more examples of that, like Metroid Prime 4 and Samus Returns, right? I think that, like, people could feel more comfortable about this 3DS remake of Metroid 2, knowing that Metroid Prime 4 was also coming down the pike, right?
And
like
on the other end of the spectrum,
Federation Force.
Pokemon, yeah, but on the other end of the spectrum, Metroid Federation Force, without any other thing after Metroid Dry Spell, got real bad negative backlash.
Yeah.
That's probably when they learned their lesson right there.
Yeah, no, they straight up, as soon as that backlash hit, they were like, oh, no, Metro Prime 4 is coming. Metro Prime Pro is coming, calm down. And they're trying to, do so much damage control.
Like Will was just going to mention, Pokemon is a good example, too.
Oh, yeah.
If they hadn't announced that Gen 8 was coming, I would have been mad.
Right. I'd still be mad. But I was mad about Let's Go, and then they're like, oh, but we're making Gen 8. And I was like, oh, okay. You know what? Let's Go can be a thing.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and so, like, that is the thing. Like, and I guess I should mention, because BlizzCon is a different thing than even an E3 conference, right?
Yeah.
Because it's purely fans in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And so it's this thing where, like, it's the double-edged sword of, Blizzard was one of the first to start doing conventions like this, where they come out and say, we're a family. We're a family. We hear you, you hear us. There's a connection here. They love to play that stuff up, right? They did it at this conference. and then when you do something that feels so incredibly detached from what the people there want, like, I don't know why this even needed to be at BlizzCon specifically. Like, it's a thing that, like, if you would, like Il said, if that was super early on in the conference, right? Because there was other stuff in here. They're doing a pretty wild remake of Warcraft 3, like WoW Classics getting
That's
stuff
cool.
about it.
Yeah.
And that looks really good, but no one's talking about it because of what happened with Diablo, Like,
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I would recommend looking that up, actually. But, like, like, there were announcements that would sort of please that specific audience that are in that room because... I mean, as a wrestling fan, I can tell you when a crowd is into it or not into it determines the entirety of a show, Like, that can be half the battle. Like, I watched Warframe, right? A game that's not huge, but, like, it has its own convention now, which surprised me, and it had its own little keynote. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
But I went and I watched, and it was like kind of, I don't play Warframe. I don't know the words that they're saying when they're announcing things, but people were going nuts, right? Like, like just on their feet applauding when, like, the expansion was announced. Like, when the little changes were happening, they were going wild, like, and that is what you can have if you are actually in tune with your audience in these fan events, like, is having these people that will lose their mind at things that the press wouldn't understand, like.
Yeah.
And it's the double-edged sword where they messed it up here.
And that's the thing. That's the danger is not will they be way more excited than the press, but if you mess up, they're going to let you know about it a lot louder than the press.
And they're going to spread negative word of mouth rather than positive word of mouth, and that's going to be bigger than your conference overall.
Yeah. And so, like, really, I mean, we're talking about it, but, like, I feel like the advice is obvious here in some ways, right? Like, which is if you cannot get a read for the room that obviously, right? Like, I don't know what you were doing. I mean, like, this, and the hard thing is this is corporate stuff. It might have been Activision saying, hey, We want to expand into China. We want to expand into mobile market with your brands. You have to announce this at BlizzCon. And no one was in the room to say, no, stop.
Yeah.
Right? But like, even if you have to announce it that way, when you're putting that show together, because people are paying for it too, like you're putting on a show and you have to view it that way. And like the one more thing being just this thing everyone hates was it ruins, you know, their whole presentation, which is lame.
Yeah, it's pretty much. You need to respect your audience, or you need to respect your fans. And if you're not going to listen to them, then you are going to be, unfortunately, suffering the consequences of that. The more you describe what happens, the more you talk about, like, oh, they say that they're part of the family, and they're talking about, like, oh, they respect the fans and stuff like that. And then you describe the last thing that they happened with the fucking Diablo Mobile. It cannot sound... It gets worse and worse and worse as to how tone deaf it was and just how awful that announcement is.
Yes, like, I am 100% certain 0 people asked for a mobile Diablo. Like 0.
But like, yeah, but I mean, but I mean, I mentioned Bethesda again, but I think a really good example of that was like, also, did you ever watch the Fallout 4 presentation that whole year, Bethesda's E3, where they also had Fallout Shelter? And the thing was, it was out that night. And it was also, after you showed off Fallout Shelter, you had 30 minutes of Fallout 4 to show off, right? Yeah. Like, you know, the presentation, I would have never tried out Fallout Shelter beforehand, but because it was presented well and I was excited from all the other stuff I saw, I downloaded it and I played it for like a week, right? Whereas like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to download this, and I'm not going to either way, you know, like, you can sell people on a concept sometimes, but this would have the exact opposite effect, right? Like,
yeah,
so it's in the part where clearly Diablo 4, apparently part of the reporting on this is that they basically went through like 3 different iterations on Diablo 4, so they don't know like if the stuff they have now will be in the final product. So that's the stuff that they're worried about.
No, but just the announcement of it would have been enough.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying,
really.
right? Just the 2 words Diablo 4 would be fine. And like they basically already announced it because they said that there are multiple Diablo projects in development before this conference happened. Like, it's the most open secret in the world. Why are you hurting yourself by not just being honest about it in this weird secrecy that doesn't make any sense? Yeah. So overall, don't do that again.
Not
what
great.
Are you doing?
Great.
Yeah. But speaking of not great and frankly baffling presentations, we got an announcement. They did this for a while for Final Fantasy 15. Before the game was coming out, there was like a weekly update with the people working on the game saying, here's what we've added, here's what we're changing, right? After the season pass came out, they would do it every couple months where they would show off sort of the roadmap for the DLC and stuff, right? We got one this week. And everyone said, oh, they announced season 2 earlier this year. Time to probably see the stuff about that. I caught it right as it was going live, and I'm like, this is a weird start. And then the guy, I forget his name, but he is a producer at Square Enix, says, hey, we are here to open this presentation by saying that Hajime Tabata, the director of Final Fantasy 15, has left the company. And you're like, what? Because this guy, I mean...
Don't they have like another like episodes or movies to make or something?
Well, we'll get to that, but like really fast to explain this guy, Final Fantasy 15 famously had a very long development time, right? And Tabata sort of came in. Nomura moved on to Kingdom Hearts like a couple years out from release, and Tabata came in and basically was like supposed to be the fixer, right? Like he was supposed to be the guy that comes in and makes everything work. And he generally did. The game came out. It did, there are people who have quabbles with Final Fantasy 15, but it's not a broken game like it seemed like it was when he walked in. And they were like, to reward you, we're going to give you your own studio, Luminous Productions, which was going to be a place where they work on multiple different things, but it was new IPs specifically, which is actually good because Square doesn't have a ton of studios in it, less than you would think probably. But they posted that by founding that studio, they had lost, I think it was, I can't find the exact number, but I think it was over like $100 million had to be spent to found that studio, which is a ridiculous amount. They had lost basically to found this thing, and now as of October 31st, he's just gone.
Converts 3,733
And we don't know why.
million yen into dollars, and then you'll get your answer.
Do the math on that. I don't know. It's like
It's over 25 million British pounds.
yes, it was.
So
And yeah, so it's a lot of money that they lost. It was 32 million. I think that was roughly what it was. But like, it was the situation where, like, so all that happens, and then they say also 75 of the 4 DLC packs that we've announced, 1 is actually coming out. The other 3 are canceled.
yeah.
Oh.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
Do you remember
There wasn't a season pass, was there?
There was not a season pass, thankfully.
Do you
Okay.
remember the Smash Direct that we had a couple of weeks ago, and how it was just
Yeah.
Sakurai just saying, "We're adding this, adding this, we're adding this." This fucking stream was the antithesis of a Smash Direct. It's like, we're canceling this, we're removing him, we're removing this.
And I felt so bad because they announced it, and then afterwards, these poor guys, because the one thing that's still coming out is coming out in like March, I think 2019, maybe February, I forget the exact month, it's early, but they have to spend the next like 10 minutes trying to sell like why this one pack that's still left is good that they've been working on. And you're like, oh man, you guys have the hardest job in the world right now, like trying to follow that up of like, hey, the studio that we founded that lost $30 million, the head of it's gone. Also, we're canceling all of the DLC packs that are coming down the line. And you're like, hey guys, the one I made is still good though.
It's-
Oh wow.
They're still releasing the Comrades, the multiplayer game, but it's not going to be standalone anymore. But they're still releasing it for console.
No,
Or is it still going to be standalone?
it's still going to be standalone on console. PC's getting no more support for the game.
Oh, right, that's the thing.
Oh wow. What the fuck?
Yeah. And they said that they might continue on the stories of the last 3 episodes, but it won't be in the form of a video game. So look out for the third Final Fantasy 15 anime that they've made so
Jesus
far.
Christ. Wow. This is pretty terrible.
It is.
It is so uniquely
sad
Square
day.
Enix.
Do we have any indication why he left? I still don't understand this. Like, it seemed like he was on top of the world, and then what?
It
What
was he said personal reasons, and that he has another project lined up. He said the letter that he had a letter that they read, and he said he resigned as of October 31st. So
Personal reasons sounds like bullshit, but I don't know.
yeah, I mean that's like we can't explain. I don't.
Yeah.
And I mean then this is only gonna probably come with reporting, and Japanese stuff is harder to do because there's just less games reporting in Japan. But like maybe we'll find out in a couple months. But right now it's just this weird. Part of it is just the stream. They didn't hint at any of this at all. They just said like, look forward to upcoming news about Final Fantasy 15 was like all they said beforehand.
I think Final Fantasy 15 is cursed.
Oh, yeah.
Like even when it's done, it's still getting fucked up. What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Moose, I was talking to him yesterday. He joked that like he can finally play the game now because it's actually done. He was gonna wait until they finally stopped updating it, and like, well, that came sooner than he thought. But yeah, it's.
They said that they're keeping Luminous Productions open. How long will that last?
I was gonna say that actually. The thing that they said was that the reason they're canceling the DLC is because they're moving everyone to Luminous that was working on the DLC. Yeah. There's been a couple of people that are reporters that basically said that the new IP that they had was actually making decent progress, which makes him leaving even stranger because it didn't seem like it was actually in this development hell that you would think from the director mysteriously leaving.
Yeah.
So it really might just be that this dude had a personal issues. I don't know. Like there's no like clear reasoning here, which is part of what's so strange about it. But yeah, it's just Final Fantasy 15. Like the word is just weird. Every part of it, from beginning to end, it's just been the weirdest game.
It's been a wild ride, and for somebody who doesn't care about Final Fantasy at all, I don't give 2 shits about Final Fantasy. Never have, and for me, this has been very fun to watch.
God.
From its announcement to taking forever in development hell, to switching producers, to weird, shitty mobile game thing that it had.
Game of War ripoff, yeah.
Yeah, the Pocket Edition to this. It's been crazy. It's been a roller coaster to follow along, even though I don't care about Final Fantasy.
Yeah. It's
bad for them.
It feels, it's a feel bad for like the developers, right? Because they're sort of, I mean, they're trying their best, you know. Like there was just a lot of mismanagement at Square, especially back in the day when it was the Versus 13 whole debacle, you know, which is what originally 15 was.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like it's just these people that, like, I mean, Tabata was sort of that in himself. Like he was this guy that sort of felt like he was trying to help right this ship, and he did, but then, like, I mean, I imagine that put an insane amount of stress on him. I guess I'll give the specific verbiage from his letter about it. In regards to my next endeavors and near future, I have a project that I truly wish to solidify as my next challenge after Final Fantasy 15. For that reason, I've decided to leave my current position and start my own business in order to achieve my goal. So it seems like he's going into business for himself a little bit there. Who knows what that actually means? It could be some back end stuff. I don't. We'll have to see. But just I wanted to talk about it because it's a wild thing that, like, you very rarely get game companies announcing it in this way, right? And also that Luminous isn't dying, because, like, when Amy Hennig leaves EA, that game dies. You know, like normally when these heads leave, see you later. The studio's basically gone. So the fact that they're sort of going to try to keep it going, I have some level of respect for, I think. Like,
I mean,
I hope somebody rises to the challenge and, like, really takes hold of that production company and really does something with it.
Yeah. I'm sure there are young, smart people at Square.
I invested quite a bit in, like, Final Fantasy 15. Like, I bought the game, I bought the season pass, the first one, and it was good. It was enjoyable. And seeing this kind of, like, stop in this manner is just heartbreaking. Like, because I wanted to see them improve, and I want to see them learn their lessons and fix some of the, like, try and fix some of the things, because that's what the DLC was there for, is just to try and help create better stories for the fans to enjoy. And seeing them kind of quit that midway, well, near the end, is just kind of disappointing and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I'm surprised this game got a second season pass. I mean, you know, was supposed to get a second season pass.
I think one of the first episodes of the podcast, we talked about it being announced, and we were like, I remember being surprised about it, like you said, getting a second season pass. But, you know, like, it is a game that, like, the DLC was happening, but also it was getting a lot of free updates that really, like, improved the quality of the game.
Yeah.
And in a way that, like, I wasn't upset at. Like, you know, I played the game when it came out. I played it a couple months ago. It's in many ways is a very different game, right? Like, you can play as every party member now. They added that post-launch, right? Originally, you can only play as Noctis. Now there's 4 different playable characters that all have their own unique systems, and that's just that's just in the game.
You can go off-road on your
really
car, in your car, which was previously impossible to do. You had to stick to the road, and now you can just buy monster truck wheels, and drive anywhere the fuck you want, which is.
It was pretty good.
Why didn't they have that in the base game?
Fucking dumb.
And that's the weird, I mean, because, like, the base game had stuff missing, right? Like, that's part of it. But, like, you know, in many ways, there are a lot of games that come out that are missing stuff at launch, and they never make good on it, you know? And, like, 15 did in a lot of ways, and that's partially why you, like, feel a little bad for the team.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, it happens. Hopefully, you know, the game that they were working on that people sort of hinted to, that they said it looks good. Like, people are excited. We're excited on this new project, so hopefully it can continue. But yeah, moving on. Let's do a quick little game, boys.
Oh.
Not a big one. Matt Piscatella of he's a guy that works for US sales stuff. Not gonna get too into it, but he just last Sunday he did a thing I love, which is he dropped lifetime sales for a bunch of consoles. All right. And it was the PlayStation, the One, the N64, the Sega Saturn, right?
Wait, what?
I mean, because they've been tracking this stuff since 1997. So he's like, you know what? No one's gonna get mad at me for publishing this stuff now. Here's the top 10 best-selling games in it. Can you guess right now what is the best-selling PS1 game?
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil's not on the top 10, which surprised me.
Is that a sports game?
It's not a sports game.
Okay.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear is number 8.
Final Fantasy
Final
7.
Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 7 is number 3.
Shit.
Damn.
Think
It's gonna be.
think mascot.
Crash Bandicoot?
Crash was number 1.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Christ.
I was gonna guess Tomb Raider, but
And yet he's
Raider.
not on the PS1 Classic.
There it is. That's the thing, is I'm looking at this list, and of these games, Crash Bandicoot, Gran Turismo 2, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is on here. You know,
Oh,
Driver's
boy.
on here. Just 7/10 of this list is not on the PS1 Classic.
Driver. Holy shit! I forgot about that game.
Yeah,
Wow,
dude.
yeah, that's a nostalgia trip right there. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
man. I used to play Driver so much.
Now
I
here's
love
a
Tony
question.
Hawk's Pro Skater 2 so much.
Looking at Nintendo 64, how many games on here were not published by Nintendo of the top 10?
Not GoldenEye.
No, that was
it?
published by
No,
Nintendo.
that was rare.
It was published by Nintendo. Probably like 1.
It is exactly 1 at number 10, Star Wars Shadow of the Empire. It snuck in there, baby.
Hell yeah! Game was fucking dope.
Yeah, dude. And then after
Is it?
that,
I never
it's...
played that.
It didn't age well. I'll give it that.
But at the time, it was impressive, right? That
Yeah.
was you're just like, oh man, look at the graphics. Mario 64 was number 1, obviously.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Day one.
Wait, does that count? Wasn't that a tie-in?
It wasn't a pack-in at launch, actually.
It wasn't a pack-in. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. GoldenEye is number 2. Mario Kart's number 3. Zelda Ocarina of Time's 4. Pokemon Stadium's number 5, baby. There you go. Donkey Kong 64, number 6. Boom, baby.
Oh yeah.
How is this possible?
What?
There it is. It's
Somebody
above
go
Smash
well for the
and Star
DK
Fox.
rap.
Pokemon Snap not on that list.
Pokemon Snap, not on that list.
That's
Fuck
a
yeah.
travesty.
Belongs in list hell.
Yeah, it does. Fuck that game.
Here's a weird one. You know where Tomb Raider does show up? Number 6 on the Sega Saturn list. Who was buying the Sega Saturn version of Tomb
Because
Raider?
there was 10 Sega Saturn games. What
It's
do you
true.
want to buy?
Sonic 3D Blast is number 8. Number 1's Madden NFL 97. Nights into Dreams is number
jeez.
2, which I think tells you the state of the situation.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Madden number 1. Oh, that's hard to hear.
Oh
Fuck.
dear.
Dreamcast, of the top 5, it's NFL 2K, NFL 2K1, Sonic Adventure, then NBA 2K, NBA 2K1, and there you go.
That's
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
weak. When your own mascot
Sega-
game isn't the best-selling game on your console, what
Sega
the
really
fuck?
though they were focused on sport games. Like
They loved
they
it. Were
really
they?
were.
That was actually
Yeah.
a big part of their marketing.
It
Yeah.
really was. In not even in the Genesis days, they were focused on sports. So
Yeah.
you know,
Well, they got what they wanted.
They got what they wanted. Number 6 was Crazy Taxi, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Ready to Rumble
Shenmue?
Boxing at 8. Shenmue's number 9, right above
Oh, okay.
Code Veronica, number 10.
good for Shenmue for even making it in the top 10, considering how obscure that game was.
Shit,
All right,
3?
here's one. How many games on the Game Boy Color were Pokemon for the top 10?
There's only 4 Game Boy Color games that are considered Pokemon. Does Pokemon Yellow count?
Pokemon Yellow does not count.
Okay, so 3.
So 3.
No. Pokemon Pinball.
Pokemon Pin. That is it. There's 4, and it's Pokemon Pinball. There you got it. Number
well,
6.
there's
Oh,
also
actually,
Pokemon
I'm sorry.
Puzzle League Challenge, but
I'm sorry.
that's
It
more
actually
obscure.
it is 5. Number 9, Pokemon Trading Card Game. Number 1.
Oh, fuck yeah, I love that.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Game
dude.
is awesome. I love that game.
And then number 6. Speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh, Dark Duel. Number 6. Crazy.
That
Yu-Gi-Oh.
game, that was the number 1 selling Game Boy Color in Japan.
Yes, it was.
I mean, it
It
came
was
out,
number 6 in the West. So
Wow,
in
I
America.
can't believe that game sold so much. You know what? It came with Exodia. That's why it sold so many.
Also, it came at the
but
time
that game
when
sucks.
Yu-Gi-Oh was popular. So
It was very popular at the time. That game is very bad, though.
Link's Awakening, by the way, at number 7. Oracle of Ages at number 10, and then apparently Oracle of Seasons was just right below it at number 11.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oracle of Seasons is better than Oracle of Ages. My
I don't remember them that well.
His humble opinion.
They were both really good, though.
They are both very good.
So this is just a little one. Speaking of old game consoles, we're going to talk a little bit more about the PS1 Classic. Hope you're okay with that. People now have hands-on impressions, and a thing that that Kotaku, once again I have to say him, discovered. Brandon, Ills, all of you are in the game clubs. Literally everyone that is on the game club is here. We have played PS1 games on emulator before, right? By the necessity of just being unable to buy them. Intelligent Cube, one especially. What emulator do you use?
PSX.
PSXE?
EPSXE.
EPSXE.
Yeah, EPSXE.
Guess what else is also using that emulator?
The PS1 Classic, really?
You serious?
The PS1 Classic is using it.
Shit.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
They didn't even make their own emulator? What the
it's an
shit?
open source emulator, yes. That's pretty wild. And like it has some emulation problems. Those emulation problems seem to be identical on the PlayStation Classic. So maybe I actually a couple of big PS1 games struggle to be emulated well. I think Crash 3 is one of them. So maybe
This
that's
is
another
2018.
reason. Yeah.
How are they struggling with fucking emulating PlayStation 1 games?
Yeah.
European PlayStation 1 games, I have, because they haven't even bothered getting American ROMs for the American version.
Yes. Also, they're all using all the PAL versions, so in every region.
What?
It sounds like it was already crazy that they were just like copying Nintendo. It was like, oh, a quick cash grab. All right, whatever. I mean, it's not the first time they've done it, but like to fucking not even put effort into this. Like,
and it's $100, like that's part of it. Like it's what you think it is in some ways, which is kind of a bummer. They realized because if you look at the licenses open in the menu, you see the license for the emulator right there. So that's how they found out.
Like they weren't even trying to hide it. Oh
yeah,
my
which
God.
I mean, legally they can't. But yeah, so now we know. I mean, once again, if it comes out and it's something you're interested in, go at it. But I would maybe wait for further impressions when the game's actually out, because we also don't know how much storage space is on this baby. So the whole like hacking thing of downloading a bunch of different ROMs, which should be easy because it's using the same emulator as everybody else, we don't know how much you can download. So, there's just a lot of question marks around this baby right now.
Hopefully you can at least hack it and delete the games you don't want, and then you can put the games you do want. Maybe.
Oh, boy.
Because at this point, you're just spending $100 for just the box.
A paperweight. Yeah.
Basically.
The box and the controller, yeah.
Well, I can play Wild Arms, so that's the thing.
You can play Wild Arms right now.
That's true.
I can play it
it's like-
legally, okay?
It's on. Hey, Wild Arms is actually on the PS3 backwards compatibility, so that's a little.
Oh,
hint
well,
for you.
maybe I should cancel my pre-order.
Yeah. Also, I guess worth mentioning, it does use a standard USB controller, so if you want to use that controller on your PC, you probably can. So there you
Why
go.
the fuck? It doesn't even have DualShock.
Yeah.
Like analog sticks.
So it's why?
Doesn't have analog sticks, does not have rumble, so those are things that are missing. So there's the PS1 Classic. Just keeps having sort of bad news. hard to find a good headline for it right now, but it's fine.
To be honest, I'd probably still buy it. If I had the money for it, I'd probably still buy it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's bare bones. Is sort of the way is sort of the impressions that people have. Like, it'll get the job done, but there's no bells and whistles, right? That sort of can help make this stuff feel like it's more than just.
They could have handled this so much better, though.
This was pretty
it's like
careless.
they
This
didn't
sounds
even
pretty careless.
try. They don't care at all.
Man,
And it shows so much.
Will, why have you made a podcast almost entirely of bad stuff?
It's the way the world ended up this week, Saf.
First Diablo, then Final Fantasy, now this shit. What the fuck?
Hey, good for.
He just wants to be an honest boy.
We're here to be honest, and good for what was it? For Star Wars, for being on the top 10 N64 games. There's the positive.
There we go. There we go. Pokemon trading card game.
Pokemon trading card game. Yeah. So there we go. That is the news for this week. Now we move on to a frequently fraught but exciting portion of the podcast. The list.
The list.
Hey, something good.
Yeah. So this week it's Will's turn. to bring a game. It's me. Hey, I'm gonna bring a game that I think most of the guys are aware of at this point, but it is a stone cold. I don't know if underrated is the word because I think a lot of people like it, but I want to talk about it. And that game is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game.
Yay!
Yeah, this is a good game.
This is a
really good game. It's very good.
It came out it tied up with the film that came out, which is an adaptation of the Brian Lee O'Malley comics. I'm a big fan of Scott Pilgrim, the comic, so I was obviously interested in the game. But then, just a bunch of stuff stacked up. Hey, Anna Monoguchi, who are really, really good chiptune artists. They're going to win the soundtrack. Paul Robertson, really good pixel artist, though he makes some weird stuff. You look him up, you're going to see some weird gifs. Be prepared.
If you're like me and you like my taste, look it up because it's pretty good.
It's not safe for work. Don't look it up with your boss behind you. And it's a classic beat 'em up game, which we weren't getting a whole lot of at the time. You know, there's Castle Crashers and a few others, but like it was great, and it was like $15. It was a primo Xbox Live Arcade, you know, in sort of the heyday of it, and it was, you know, you could play as multiple characters, 4-player co-op. Didn't have online at launch; it came later, but it is just a really cool game overall.
Also, as of right now, it's unplayable. They've taken it off everything, so you can't.
It
play
is
it
delisted.
It's not unplayable for me because I still have it.
Unless you've downloaded previously, but you can't get it anymore.
What's his name?
Can't download it anymore.
Brian Lee O'Malley is on Twitter, like pretty regularly, being like, "I'm trying to get the right. It's much harder than you would think." So, I mean, people want it to come back, but we'll see.
Yeah,
if it does.
sucks for people who don't have it downloaded that can't play it because, you know, it's a classic, really, at this point.
He said while smiling.
Yeah.
Well, I'll smile because I could still play it all day, baby. What you gonna do? Come over to my house. You pay me $5. You can play it.
Damn, the hustle.
It's I respect it. And like, I mean, I guess we can get to the ranking of it, but like a thing that I really love about it is that like the comics are heavily referenced video games. This part of it, right, is that there's just, you know, Scott gets a 1-up in the story, a bunch of other stuff, you know. The band he's in is named Sex Bomb, and so it's just seeing it adapted into a game, and that is full of its own loving references, while at its own time having its own identity can be hard, you know. And it did a wonderful job of that. So where would I put it on the list, though? Frankly, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even think about starting.
I have a place for it.
How many minutes do you have to think about this?
I'm gonna say around the 30 areas where I'm looking for this baby. Where else are people feeling? Because I mean, you could probably move me.
I mean,
I only
had like an hour or two experience with it, so I don't think.
Oh dear God! I only had a blank amount of time. Is what you should never say ever again.
This is don't say that because now your opinion to us is going to go down the drain.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So I don't have much in the way of opinions in this matter.
Okay.
That's all you were going to say.
We'll see how it ends up. You may need to throw in your voice eventually, but
I wanted to say right above or right below Limbo.
Right above or below Limbo?
Yeah.
So that would be...
It's pretty low.
No, I think that's pretty good.
41?
I was eyeing that area.
All
I
right.
was thinking like above Street.
It's a good
Fighter?
game, but at the same time, I mean, it's not the best beat 'em up.
By the way, you can follow the list everywhere
In the
with
pastebin.
numbers and
Yeah.
in the pastebin. Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me, Noah.
It's the problem that everybody's going to have with a beat 'em up, right? Because a beat 'em up at the end of the day is a beat 'em up. But this is like...
Well, there are beat 'em ups that are godly, and there are beat 'em ups that are pretty good, and there are beat 'em ups that suck. And I think this is a beat 'em up that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best beat 'em ups I've ever played.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that more than a lot of games, beat 'em ups live a little bit on aesthetic, right? Because I mean, no matter what, like there are beat 'em ups that have more and less complex battle systems, and Scott Pilgrim actually has a fair amount to it, right? It has the River City ransom stuff of upgrading your stats and buying new moves and all that stuff.
Yeah, the weapons and everything is very much like River City Ransom.
And we also have to consider, like, they were able to do all this awesome stuff because it was, like, probably one of the most, like, in terms of modern beat 'em ups, probably the most modern, like, good beat 'em up to come.
But like I mean, like Double Dragon Neon came out after it, right? And that was a game that like.
Well, yeah, but that was a bad one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like like you can still make a bad beat 'em up in the year that this game came out, but like they found an artist who has. When he's not out there drawing like awful giant tentacle monsters with anime titties, he has a real charm to his art that like I think permeates pretty much everything and like
like all the animations were really nice and smooth and really good. Yeah,
the music's like
this is
music. Great.
The problem is that
shit.
we don't have any other beat 'em ups on this list, and this is like part of the reason.
The Simpsons.
Yeah, The Simpsons. It's way better.
It's way above it.
Okay, yeah.
It's way better than the Simpsons arcade game.
But
yes.
this is like part of the reason why I want us to get to the beat 'em up bundle, the Capcom beat 'em up bundle, so we can get those.
I'll
games.
say it now. This game is better than every game on the Capcom beat 'em up bundle.
What? Okay. We're going crazy now. This is nuts.
It is.
I can't
It is. It's way more in depth than all those games.
The balance.
I'd say the majority of them, yeah, but there are a couple of gems on that bundle.
Well, there's a lot of really cool games on there, but this is better than all of those games.
I played a bunch of the beat 'em up bundle games by myself. Well, they're not on the list, but I played a bunch of them by myself. But co-op, some of those games are absolute blast, but single player, they're not balanced to be fun with single player in mind, right? Like that's part of it. Is that like, I think that this game lets you do. I played a co-op with 3 friends, and then I would also do like, I did every single character maxed out level. Like. I played through the game multiple times, which is, I think, the sign of a good beat 'em up, and I had a fun time each time because there was just enough different between them, both in their animations and in how they played, that I didn't feel the repetition while playing by myself. I
definitely played through this game multiple times.
And because it doesn't have the nature of being a quarter muncher, I think it means that the balance of the bosses and stuff is more fun. The actual like
a lot more, it's a lot more fair, more balanced, more fun. Because they're not being programmed to be cheap, where they're trying to get your money out of it.
Yeah,
the game was programmed to be balanced and fun.
I'll give it that.
Shit, Rom will remember this, Brandon.
Shit, Rom.
I'm saying, I love a lot of those games.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a better beat 'em up than all of those games.
I don't know about that.
It has better, like, the music fucking surpassed every single. I can't remember a single song from a single game on the Capcom beat 'em up bundle. All right, but like,
I mean, I can remember a lot of songs from Knights of the Round, but that's a personal thing.
Yeah, it's like Scott Pilgrim stands out, in so many ways. Obviously, the length.
Well, the music is definitely better than Scott Pilgrim.
Music is way better.
I mean, of course,
The animations, like, are cooler and better than in any of those games. I know it's a lot later on, but still,
I would disagree there.
And the length of the game doesn't take you 30 minutes to beat.
Yeah,
it's got just way more to it. It's got the upgrading. It's got the skills. It has a ton of weapons.
Has cool secrets. Like levels have secrets to them, which are cool. That are like little side areas and warp zones.
Yeah, the cool map system. The boss battles are all fun. They're all varied. Like that one guy where it's like a Guitar Hero mini game when you're fighting him too. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot going on there, and it's a better game than all those games combined.
So where do you think it would go on the games that are on the list?
On the list, I would put it. It's tough.
How about above Republic Commando?
Above Republic Commando, no.
Okay.
I would put it above I would put it above Castlevania or Stardew Valley.
I put it above. Yeah.
I put it above Street Fighter.
Stardew's interesting because I think that. I don't know if Scott Pilgrim is my favorite. I think I'd be willing to put it above Stardew, actually.
Yeah. Okay. I guess. I mean, I've already lost this battle apparently.
Well, I mean, it's you and Noah are both the two that are votes still to cast. So, Noah, how do you feel about it?
That's why I was eyeing like just above Street Fighter, but.
Here's the thing. I don't think I played the game as much as you guys did. I mean, I beat it, I think, twice, but I didn't play it by myself, like, obsessively or anything like that. So, I guess you guys got more out of it than I did, but, whatever. That's why I don't have that much of a connection.
Do you have a tiebreaker opinion here, or?
I mean, I had a lot of joy with it. With the amount of time that I spent with it, I was totally with. If I had the opportunity, I would definitely go back to it and play some more.
Come to my house,
but you don't. You don't have the opportunity. You can never play it again.
I would put it above Stardew Valley, cause I'll put it above Stardew Valley.
All right, there you go.
All right. There we go. Just like that, the list has a new game, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, at number 37. Above it, Star Wars Republic Commando at 35. 36, Super Mario 3D Land. 37, Scott Pilgrim. 38, Stardew Valley. 39, Castlevania Bloodlines. The holy pact of Stardew Valley or the unholy pact of Stardew Valley and 3D Land has been broken.
Oh, yeah.
that made it almost the majority of the podcast. Gosh, like 50 episodes. Wow. That is the list. That is the game. That's not the game club. I was about to mess up there, didn't I? That is the podcast for this week. But we did have a game club come out last week where we talked about went back to Project Poseidon.
Poseidon, Jesus.
Poseidon.
Poseidon.
It's wrong. You're wrong.
It's a matter of perspective. Tomato.
It's really not.
It's not.
I'm feeling good about it. Go listen to that, though.
I'm feeling real bad about it.
We have other things to say about that game besides how to pronounce the title. Brandon, because you did, you are the game club man. While I do these plugs, can you prepare your own final phrase for this stuff?
Why is this?
Yeah, sure, I can.
All right, so there we go. We have, like I said, we have that. We have twitter.com/Jump Up Supercast where you will get the tweets about when these things go live. If you miss it in your podcast feed, because sometimes they're bad about it. I saw a headline today. Apple has apparently not been reporting 40% of podcast listens pretty much universally across all podcasts.
Oh, good.
And they haven't been updating feeds properly. So watch out. You can't rely on them to know when the stuff goes live. So be on the lookout with twitter.com/Jump Up Supercast. Also twitch.tv/Jump Up Supercast, where we will stream video games whenever. But like I said, every Monday, check in for this. Every other Thursday, check in for the game club. But without further ado, Brandon, if you would offer your final phrase.
Well, I just want to say, go to Jump Up Supercast on SoundCloud. Go to us on Twitter. Go to us on Instagram.
He just
go
said
find
this.
us on Facebook. Just go find us, all right? Just do it. If this is the first episode you ever listen to, run outside, run down the street, and say, "Hey, what day is it?" And some kid's gonna open the window and say, "Oh, it's Christmas Day, sir. It's Christmas Day, sir. You should subscribe to the Jump Up Supercast." And then you do that. You hit that damn like button, and you share it, and you comment, and you say, "Hey, guys, I really enjoyed the Jump Up Supercast. I'm going to go tell everybody I know, including that little kid and Scrooge, because I love the Jump Up Supercast." Merry Christmas, everybody. Early Christmas.
Can we never give Brendan the last word again?
Your last word is another plug
Christmas.
on top of the plug that we've already done. What the fuck?
Merry Christmas.